All right. Wow. There's so many people. It's wonderful. All right. So we're going to give a little bit of time to get people coming in. So, gosh, wow, so many people. This is amazing. So let's start with, where's everyone from? I'm in Ohio. I'm coming live from Ohio in the heart of America. So where's everyone coming from? I got Bruce, Ronald, MAGA 2020, Amber. Oh, great. Thank you. Ah, you're on. Hello, patrons. Massachusetts, Fran, thank you. Sonic Suicide, UK. Sanella, I don't feel, I just came from New York City. I feel kind of bad for you. Indiana, Oklahoma, Texas. Meg, how are you doing in Texas? My prayers have been with you all in Texas. What a bad, the bad thing there. Lots of stuff going on there. Florida. Kelly, I'm jealous of you in Florida. I thought we had a Republican governor in Ohio, but he's proved to be somewhat of a rhino, unfortunately. DeSantis has been great. Annapolis, Maryland. Skyberg, Texas. I'm thinking about maybe moving to Texas at some point. We'll see. Right now, Ohio's working, but I'm not sure where things are going to go. Hungary. Wow. I'm not going to, is it Jared Joe? Sorry if I mispronounced your name, from Hungary. Thank you. India. Wow. Wow. Meg, yes, the school districts and the mask mandates. Yeah, that's something that I have a lot of opinions about that, and I'll be talking about how I'm going to be voicing those opinions safely in this show. Pennsylvania, Fort Wayne, Germany. Wow, fantastic. Oregon, Southern Maryland, Pennsylvania. All right, so how's everyone holding up? I mean, so much has happened since November 3rd, which I'll get to, but I mean, how's everyone doing? Is everyone staying positive and hopeful, or for me, it's up and down. It's up and down for sure. Usually when I don't watch the media and the news, I feel a little bit happier. So, Joe in Kansas, thank you for coming. San Antonio, more Texas. Got a lot of Texans here. That's great. That's great. So I'll start officially in a few minutes here for everybody. MAGA 2020, you're Texas also. Yeah, thank you. She Patriot. Yeah, faith. So important. So important. Yeah, call me Colorado. Yeah, frustrated. Yeah, I know, frustrated. I know we want the real president back. I'm sick of seeing these pictures of the imposter. I want our real president back. I miss him. I miss him so much, actually. I was talking to my mom about the other day, and I think we both maybe cried a little bit talking about how much we miss Trump. Yeah, avoiding mainstream media and social media. Exactly. UK. A lot of people from UK. It's great. Yeah, leaning on Jesus, Skybird. Absolutely. Yeah, honestly, this is the time that it's our faith that will carry us. That's really that's the time that we're in right now. Yeah, Oregon, California. I know, Sarah. Yeah, I miss him. My president. Yeah, I think he'll be back. I know he'll be back. I know he'll be back. I think he's got a lot of plans. I think he has a lot of plans. Call me Colorado. Thanks from Georgia. Gosh, so many of you. This is incredible to have everyone here. This is incredible. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started now. I think judging from the comments, it looks like we've got a lot of people here, which is enough. And just so you know, if you see me looking off to my left, my wife, Kate. Hi, Kate. She's in the operating booth over there. This is a family business, I guess you could say. It's Kate, myself. We have our little baby June, which you've probably seen, and a few friends that have helped out. But it's we're doing what we can. This is our way of fighting the battle. Yeah, hellhole, New York. I grew up in Ohio, and I lived in New York for almost 15 years, and just came back almost a year ago to this day. I came back, and I thank goodness, because looking at what's happening in New York City now, I still have a business there. It's a train wreck there, which it just shows people. It shows what happens under a communist mayor and communist leadership. That's what you got. Well, Taiwan. I love Taiwan. I've been to Taiwan probably 10 times. I've been to Taiwan. I used to do a lot of business in Hong Kong and Taiwan and China a little bit. I went to China a few times. Don't feel very welcome there these days. Thank you. Wow, Portugal. Wow, we got people from all over. Quebec. Salut, Jeanette. Gosh, thank you everyone for coming. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. And so this is a all right, Ohio. I love my fellow Ohioans. Thank you, everybody. So like I said, this is going to be a little more loose. It's my first time going live. A lot's happened since we first started. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of things I'm going to tell you about, and then I'm going to get into the news of what's next. I see that you guys are asking about that, so I'll talk about what's coming next, and then at the end, we're actually going to have some time for a proper, question and answer where you guys can ask me anything that won't get me banned, I'll talk about. And I've got some ways of talking about the banned stuff as well, which we'll get to that. So getting started, I first wanted to tell you just a little background of how Man in America started and really what took us up to today and what the future holds for us. So after November 3rd, which I have to be careful about how I talk about November 3rd because of their censorship. But we all know what happened, and we all know what who's in the White House and who doesn't belong there, right? I'll say that. So after November 3rd happened, and we saw these things unraveling, my wife and I were watching Fox that night and started seeing what was really happening early on, especially when you had Arizona called, and we saw everything just unfolding. Especially with the days after that event, we just felt like what we were seeing is what we were really, really scared to see. Like we were seeing our country being taken over. I mean, we were seeing a coup. And the more we were watching this, and there's ups and downs and frustrated, but we both felt, gosh, we have to do something. Like that was the feeling. It wasn't about, oh, I want to become a YouTube star. I would have never thought that, especially when it comes to politics. I would have thought that we're gonna, become some sort of political commentator. But what we felt though is just, this is happening. We've been betrayed. Yes, Fox betrayed us. MAGA 2020, exactly. This is unfolding, but we have to do something. And that was the heart at the beginning. It was, what can we do to help our country? My wife and I both have creative backgrounds. We've worked in the media. We both have been heavily involved in human rights involving with China for, 15, 20 years. And so we had a lot of background and we had a lot of creative skills. And so we thought, well, let's make a YouTube channel. Let's just make a video. We thought she had written some music about it. She's a musician, which I can't wait to tell you about that later. Sorry, quick question. I saw you about the mic. I'll talk about the mic a little bit later for you. It's my favorite mic. I'm in love with it. So we saw these things happening. We thought, okay, what skills have we been given, right? Because I think that really it's about what has God given each of us to do what we're doing, right? Like what talents and skills and connections has God given us, and that's what we came to. And so we made a video, right? You probably saw the video. It's still up on YouTube, which in my opinion is, even that is a grace of God. Everything has been wiped from YouTube. And actually at one point early on, shortly after Trump shared the video, it got deleted. And then somehow it came right back on maybe 30 minutes later, which I've never heard of that happening with YouTube, because they pulled it off. We got an email saying that it was censorship and we broke their community guidelines. And I didn't praise Mao enough in the video, so they deleted it. But they put it back on. And so we made that first video, The Plot to Steal America. And we did it because we thought that we wanted to show people the truth, because communism, it wins through lies. That's how it overtakes. It distorts the truth and it changes reality. And that's how communism takes root into a country until they control the entire narrative. If you've seen or read 1984, it's, how many fingers, Winston? That's how communism achieves its goal. And so we made that video to expose what really happened, expose the truth behind Trump and what he's really doing. And he's not some politician on an ego trip, not some celebrity that wants to be even more famous and powerful, but that he was trying to save the nation. And he was trying to save us from the communists and globalists and all the threats that are out there that we know about. And so after Trump shared that, and he didn't just share it, it was interesting. He didn't just retweet it. He retweeted it a few times, but then he uploaded the video to all of his social media profiles. So it was on the Rumble accounts, it was on the YouTube accounts, it was on his Facebook. And we think, I think it was very heavily throttled in terms of the amount of views it was showing, but we estimate that it probably reached 30, 40, 50 million people. We had people in Iran telling us that they translated it and they overdubbed it with Farsi, which is incredible. In Italian, it got translated in probably 15, 20 different languages and just went all over the world. And that was such an incredible event. It put us in contact with a lot of key figures that have been fighting this, which I look forward to talking more about in the future. But then after that, it was like, okay, what's next, right? What do we do? So we started making a few other videos, but alongside of this happening, I was watching the media coverage, and it seemed like the media were dropping like flies. And we saw Fox very quickly turned, but even the other media that I thought we could have trusted, and there's now very few that I do trust, which I'll talk about. And that's part of what I want to do is share with you and learn from you who you read and who you trust, and share that as well. But as these media were dropping, the entire media landscape was changing. And gosh, before November, everyone was watching Tucker and trusting this, and all of a sudden these things all changed. And then you had the passing of Rush, which I think was, gosh, to happen in the timing that it did was just the most devastating thing. I mean, Rush Limbaugh was, I think he's an American treasure. I think he's actually in heaven above, watching and guiding all of us that are doing what we can do right now. But after Rush passing, so I grew up, as you say, a Rush baby. My mom would have Rush on in the background pretty often. Now at that age, I was too concerned to play with my Legos and my Lincoln Logs, so I wasn't paying attention to Rush. But as I got older, I started listening a little more, but especially after he passed, I really started honing in on him and understanding, why was he so popular? Why was he who he was? I think there's a few things. For one, Rush Limbaugh was one of the, if not the first person to really stick his neck out and really talk to the American people about the radical agenda in the 90s. So I started watching and becoming a little bit obsessed with him and understanding who he was and what his life was like. And I watched these old interviews with him and Barbara Walters or on 60 Minutes. And I saw what he did for the country, and how, gosh, it's amazing to go back. If you can do this, go back and listen to some of his things from the 90s when he's talking about the liberal Marxist agenda taking over our country. It's amazing the foresight that he had. But I also looked at why was he so great, right? What is it that brought people to him? And the more I listened to him and watched some of his interviews, I realized because you don't feel like trash after listening to him. You listen to Rush and you feel, okay, there's still some reason to be optimistic. He had a way of putting a positive spin on things, and obviously he's very intelligent, but he just had this positive energy to him. And if I look at what we've been left with now, if I look at the media landscape, I don't want to point any fingers, but what's happening is whenever I watch the majority of the conservative commentators, I walk away with this feeling of, I guess, anger and ridicule. And so if I look at what's happening with the media now and what they're doing to our country and really the world, because the U.S. media really controls the global media news cycle, especially as it relates to the U.S. What I see happening is that you have your left and your right. So the left, what they do is they take the extreme end of the right and they convince their entire audience that the entire right side are white supremacists and racists, and we all want to burn down DC. And so they push that. They a bunch of deplorables. So that's what they do. But also the thing is that on the right, they do the same thing, right? So what they do is they take the left and they look at the radical left, but they almost have this, they give you this feeling that the entire left is like that they don't want guns. They want our boys to be girls, our girls to be boys. They have all these liberal things, I guess radical, extreme and Marxist views. But the reality is I think it's not true on either side, right? I think that actually the true landscape of what America is you've got on either side, you have your radical left, your radical right, and you have the majority of people in the middle that care about our country. Even a lot of my neighbors, they might have Biden signs out. And if I talk to them, like they voted for Biden because they haven't seen through the lies of the media, and they think that it's going to help with health care for their mother, or they are concerned about their family being able to immigrate better. And so they're following that. Like they don't want to just destroy the country. They don't hate the country like that. Um, so the more I started seeing what was happening with the media, though, and even the talk show hosts, is that they're all just angry, right? They're going on, and they're just very upset. They're very angry. They're ridiculing. Like you turn on the TV, it's like, look what the radical left did. Look what the woke, left Marxists are doing. And what it does though is that it, for all of us, what it does is it makes us feel like our country is completely divided, and that makes you feel like half the country wants to see it burn down in a BLM riot, and the other half of the country wants it to be, the wild, wild west. But it's actually neither. And actually, I have a good friend in Canada who was telling me that he was just watching the news, and he was in his own little news bubble. And watching the news and social media, it made him feel like America was this really, really divided place where everyone's screaming and everyone hates each other. It's left versus right, everything. But what's interesting is that he watched a video that was done by Josh Phillip over at the Epoch Times about Texas, where it was really showing like the true America, the true Americans. And he realized, wow, like the majority of Americans, I think, are nice and kind people. And that was my experience too. Like I said, I'd lived in New York City for quite a long time. And coming back to Ohio, I had that experience of like, wow, it's like these are the Americans. I know that some of them they might vote left, or they might go left or right, but they care about our country. And it was a big awakening to realize. And so coming back to circle back, like our favorite press secretary that wears a communist hat sometimes. So circling back to where this leads us now is that what I'm seeing in the people that are talking about what's happening in our country is a lot of just anger and hatred. And granted, there's a lot of reasons to be upset, but I think that right now we really have to figure out how we can come together, right? We really have to figure out how we as a nation can save our country. And so this is, kind of leading back into what the next steps are, because that was the original purpose of Man in America, was thinking, okay, what can we do to help our country? And so what we're doing, and this is the kind of fun, exciting, big announcement, is starting next week, we're launching a Man in America live show. And the goal is to get to have a daily show, Monday through Friday, at 12 noon Eastern time. So next week, we're going to start off, which initially we're going to be starting with Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it's going to be a show where, and I'll go into what we're going to talk about, but the idea is that we've got a daily show we can get to where we can sit down with each other and just talk. It's not about me telling you what I think. Actually, I want to hear a lot of what you think. And that's the thing, is that if you watch some of my previous videos, 5-6 years ago, I was clueless about American politics. I've learned a lot, and I'm very open. But there's so much wisdom. Even like my grandfather, who's in his 80s, when I listen to him, there is so much wisdom in the elders of our country. And I think that that's a big part of what I want to be able to do is have conversations, because I think it's a journey that we all need to go on together, right? Is like, how can we save this country? But I think that part of it is also understanding, like, what did each of us do to allow the country to get where it is? Because I think that's also a really important part of the discussion, because it's the Chinese say death by 1,000 cuts, or if you're familiar with sales techniques, it's all the series of small yeses that allow us to get to where we are. And so what I want to do with this show is I'm going to cover politics and give my thoughts on what's happening, but I don't want to focus on like specifically like look what Nancy Pelosi did today and she must have been drunk. And then we'll have our conversations about that stuff. But I want to look at what's happening, but look at what it will mean to us as the Americans and how to make sense of these things. Because when I watch a lot of the political commentary and the Fox and different media, they talk about things, but it seems like they're talking at this kind of level, right? And rarely do I hear them talk about, okay, here's what we can do as Americans, right? And I think that's actually what leaves a lot of us feeling hopeless. I think that for a lot of people I speak with, we just don't know what to do. And so that's what I want to do is I want us to really discover together and figure out what we can do and share those ideas. So a big part of the show, I know that Rush was big on the call-ins, right? And so I want to have video interviews. I want to talk to you. I want to have people come on and share. Say you're a grandparent. Like, how are you helping your grandchildren to avoid the Marxist indoctrination in the schools? Even if their parents or your children are, completely sold on it. Like, I want to talk to that or talk to the local father and how he's getting engaged in his local school district. But I also want to do interviews I want to bring on a lot of guests. I want to eventually bring on Don Jr., which I'm sure I'll have him eventually. I want to interview a lot of these, people that are really on the front lines and really working against this communist coup. And I want to talk to them. But I don't want to talk to them and say, what do you think about what's happening in DC? I want to talk to them and, say someone like General Flynn, right? And say, General Flynn, thank you so much. But let me ask you a question. How do you find the courage to do what you do? Like, what do you do to strengthen your faith? How do you fight against this? Like, I want to ask real questions that really make sense to helping us know what to do. But I also want to provide a platform for you to ask these questions. And that's a big part of it, is really creating a community and helping us all just work together. But I also want to, so a big part of it as well is looking at, I really want to focus a lot on how we can return to the true American values, right? Because I really believe that if you read the Constitution, if you read the story of our founding, right, they laid out a path for a nation that was indestructible if that path was followed, built upon Judeo-Christian values. They laid out a path for us as a nation. And I think that we've deviated substantially from that. And I think that America was actually the example for the entire world. And I think that's why so many people were so upset with this election and seeing what happened to Trump, because of how that just what happened. So I want to look at, like, what has the Constitution taught us? What is it? What did it mean to our founding? What are the traditions that we need to return to? How can we strengthen our families? How can we get more involved in our communities? Also, how can we each examine, like I said before, what we've all done? How can we examine how we've contributed to this? Where have we let the Marxists, take in? Is it our Netflix, supporting Netflix and watching their, trash they put out? Is it allowing our schools to go unchecked? Like, how is this that's happening? But I also want to, through the show, continue to expose the corruption that we're seeing. And like I mentioned before, also have a good dialogue with you on just what you're doing, what you're seeing. And so one final point with this is that obviously censorship is a big issue. And there's certain things that I just can't talk about on YouTube. And it's not that I want to bow down to them, but the reality is that YouTube is a massive audience, okay? And being on YouTube allows me to reach so many people. All right, I still have Rumble and BitChute and everything, but there's a lot of topics I want to talk about. So what I want to do is, eventually we'll get to maybe a weekly, or we'll see where it goes, but I want to be able to have an uncensored video. So this is a video because a lot of people, they want to know what's happening with the vaccine. They want to know the truth behind COVID and the globalist agenda. They want to know what's happening. They want to know a lot more things about November 3rd. So what I also want to do is, actually what I'm going to do is set up I'm going to have a uncensored video which I'll probably put it on my website, where we can do a live video and a live chat where we can have these conversations together and not be worried about, where I can interview nurses that have been fired for what they said, where we can talk to, the Sidney Powell type folks and everything. So, anyway, so that's coming. I think that I covered all my points. I probably rambled a little bit, which, I might do sometimes. I'll try to work on that. But so as I mentioned, I think we can now open things up for a live Q&A. And so, okay, so there's a few comments I wanted to respond to quickly before we jump into the live Q&A. MAGA 2020 said, thanks for telling us about Safe Chat. Absolutely. I'll say that, so Safe Chat is somehow, it's the most engaged audience that I have across all the social media. I've got more followers on Gab, yet I get probably 30 times the comments on Safe Chat. And just so you guys know, I actually know the founders of Safe Chat through some different projects before, and that's what gives me the trust in them. I have such trust. These are people that escaped communism. They understand what censorship is. So that's why I feel like I can truly put my stamp of approval on it. Also, MAGA 2020, thank you. Mike Pompeo is loyal. Yes, I agree. That's been everything I've seen through him. If I'm questioning someone's loyalty, I try to look at what is their stance on China and what is their stance on communism. And I can say that Mike Pompeo has been one of the strongest voices against China and communism. Sherry Johnson from Texas, come to East Texas. Actually, my wife and I were talking, a couple of days ago about maybe moving to Texas. So, yeah, that would be, I would love that, but I do want to go visit. I've been there a few times. Liberty. So Curtis Bowers, yes. Curtis Bowers is an incredible person. I want to interview him. He's someone I want to have come on the show. For those who don't know about Curtis Bowers, so he created 2 different documentaries that probably actually created more, but they're called Agenda. It's Agenda Grinding America Down is the first one. The second one is Agenda. It's a continued. But if you haven't watched either of them, especially Agenda Grinding America Down, it's one of the best videos I've seen. That's the video that actually really woke me up to what was happening in America. It really exposes the communist infiltration in our schools and in politics. Great video. Yes, Skybird, you said Rush was an authentic and genuine soul. I agree. And there will never be another Rush. If I can do 1/millionth of what Rush has been able to do, it'll be incredible. He was such an amazing person. And I know that he's still with us. I know he's still with President Trump and he's still with our country. Susie, you said walking by faith and not by sight. And I think that's especially important right now. I agree like 1,000,000%, is that we have to be looking at the world is really an illusion. It's all lies now, even more than it ever has been. The media is a lie. Even the food they're feeding us, all the synthetic stuff, everything is becoming fake. So I think that we have to be able to trust our insight and just our intuition and our relationship with God. Ezekiel, you said you do not hear the moderate left condemning the radical left. Yeah, I agree. That's something that I agree with. And part of what I've been trying to do, and I wanted to continue to do, is talk to more of my friends that are moderate left and see. And from some of the conversations I've had so far, they're actually just as afraid as anybody of being canceled. And that's the problem, is that I know a lot of people that are on the left that don't support Black Lives Matter. But they can't come out and say that because of that radical lefters. They're like a venomous snake that they bite as soon as they can. So I know it's a tough one. Lily Bloom, is communism bad because they give all of their wealth equally? No, communism is bad for a lot of deeper reasons. And I'm going to cover that a lot more. But if I had to say that I think fundamentally communism is bad because I believe that its goal is to destroy humanity. I think there's been a guise of the utopian, imagine all the people, John Lennon ideals that they've used. But fundamentally, if you look at Marx and who Marx was and his dedication to Satan and Lucifer and destroying God, I think the very founding of communism is rooted in something very evil with a goal to destroy America, not America, but the entire world. Sarah Grant, why is there so much hate from the left? I have two friends who absolutely hate me for standing up for Trump, and I never gave them any reason to hate me. It's sad and shocking to me. I've experienced it too. I have family members that don't talk to me, and I think that that goes back to communism, and I think that it's understanding that hate is the fuel of communism, and it's hate that gets into people's hearts that it allows that. It's almost like it's a specter. It's something that gets inside of people. But I want to talk more about those things. That's important. Grace Abound, what can we do on a local level in a blue state? We need to stand up, but some don't know where to begin or who to partner with and trust. I don't have a quick answer for you now, but that's what I definitely want to cover a lot, that exact point. I would say that one thing that we can all do is just try to help talk to people that we see, especially now. A lot of my friends that voted Biden are now open to talking about things, and they're saying, gosh, I can see exactly what you're talking about. So now it's easier than ever to talk to people. Okay, Bria M. When has the world ever been behind the United States president? The people are speaking far and wide. This scares the establishment. I agree completely. And this is, I think, what really frightened them is that this is what people, I think, also don't understand about President Trump. A lot of people, I think you all do, is that it wasn't about politics. Like, Trump was coming in to protect the people of the world against the globalist and communist agenda. That these are people that they own the media, they own the big corporations, the banks, that's who Trump was against. And so he was actually here for the people. So I agree with you completely. We'll talk more about that. Okay. All right. So a few other questions that are coming up. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, President Trump is still our president. He's doing to Biden what Obama did to him. Yes. As much as they talked about the shadow government, and I think that Obama's shadow government's I won't go down to that. I think that Trump is still very much so in control of a lot of things. And I think that he's still very involved in the fact that it's the art of war, right? The fact that he's so quiet right now, I think, is showing what kind of strength that he has and that what he's doing. So yes, actually a question email account. Yes, that's a great one. Tough times. Thank you. Well, one thing I can say, I know it's set up right now, is that hello@mia.news. That email address is active. I'll update that and get a new one out to you, but that one will always be active as a forwarding address. So if you want to reach out, or you have a question, or if you have some thoughts, and like I mentioned with the Man in America show, I want to start having you come on. So if you want to come on and speak and share about how you've been able to affect something in your area, please reach out to us. Karen Unts, God has awakened us for a reason. He has the plan. I agree so much. And that's something that I tell myself and my family members that see this. I say, look, there's a reason why we've been awakened to what's happening. And so I look at it as like, in a way, we've been chosen. We've been given the truth. So we have to do something with it. Kino, your opinions are great. I suggest you keep your religious views aside to get more viewers. It's a good point. And the one thing I will say is that I won't get into my own, I'll try not to get into my own kind of religious views very much. But one thing I do believe is that if I talk about, God, I try to make it more universal. I think it's important for people of every religion to find their faith in what they believe to be God. I might speak a little more to a Christian base, but I do think that I can only remove it so much, because we're at a time right now where I think that understanding God and faith is one of the few things that I think is going to help us get through this properly. And so I think it's just a very important. Hiroko Tanaka, I'm an anti-bribery and corruption officer. I'm shocked how corruptions are confiscated in the U.S. Yeah, U.S. I think a lot of people had a lot of hope for how good America was, I think now we're really seeing that there's a lot of corruption, and we're seeing that, yeah, it's a lot of corruption. Okay, Reagan, this live streaming great. Been looking for this from. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. Oh, okay. Angelica, am I related to the Kennedy family? Not that I know of. My mom, she always thought JFK was handsome, but I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'm related to the Kennedy family. Okay. Oh, Bards FM. Yes, Lily. Bards FM. I love Scott Kesterson. He has a great podcast. Yeah, he's fantastic. I know he's on Podbeam. I think he got removed from Spotify. I couldn't find him. Wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, Bards FM, I highly recommend. Lisa, I get my real news from Sky News Australia. Yes, actually, my wife is an Aussie, and she shares Sky News with me, which is great. Let's see, Telegram. Yes, Telegram. Thank you, Tough Times, for mentioning Telegram. I do have a channel on Telegram. It's just Man in America. So I would recommend that. Adam, good question about YouTube banning me. So that's for one thing, that's why I'm going to try to keep the discussions on YouTube a little more censorship safe, but that's why I'm intentionally setting up a separate version of the show to talk about all the uncensored things. So that's one thing. But I am uploading everything to Rumble, BitChute, all the other sites that we can host. So if they get canceled, then we get canceled. But we're not going to stop, though. We're actually going to try harder. Joel, thank you for doing this nice job for us. Keep going. We the people have to keep fighting for this nation. I agree 1,000,000%. Like it really comes down to we the people. I think that's what Trump has given us. Reagan, you ask, I appreciate you, Man America, being brave. Have you ever met the president? Want to know a little more about you. Actually, yes, my wife who's smiling over there. And I'll show you some pictures maybe sometime, but we did get to shake hands with President Trump last year. About a year ago, around this time, we went down to an event at Mar-a-Lago, and it was a more private event. It was a fundraiser, and Kate was pregnant with June, so she had to make these bathroom trips, and we kept running into President Trump when we would go, and so it always set us up. She's blushing over there, but I got to meet and shake hands with Trump. She got to shake hands with Melania. Sean Hannity was there. And so that was really amazing. But we both felt, though, it was really strange. We both felt at that time that that there's some sort of special relationship with working with him. So we'll see. Kimberly, can you give me suggestions for how to handle my husband? He's far left. We were fighting. Gosh, I would say that the biggest thing, well, this isn't the biggest thing. One thing I can say, Kimberly, is try to meet him with where he's at. Like try to understand, because what I've found, a lot of people that are, very far left, it's because they actually believe in something about the left. Like they believe that it's the best thing for taking care of people. A lot of times it's rooted in kind thoughts, and that's how that's the deception. But yeah, I think trying to understand what he sees in that, and then helping him maybe understand what you see, and maybe realize that you both actually want the same thing. Like we both want a free America, et cetera. So, but we'll talk more about those things. The other thing is this: if you can find good articles or videos that you can show him, or maybe see if he'll watch the Agenda documentary with you. So Meta Raven HR1 is passed. Yeah, I know. I'm concerned about that. And I want to talk more about that. Let's see. I think that yes, everyone's saying that, yeah, Bards FM. So the super chats. Yeah. So within the next couple of chats, we'll activate the super chat on here. We didn't for this time because it's our first time testing and everything, but pretty soon we should have the super chat function active. Mary, California friends, beware of a bill called Ethnic Studies Curriculum for School Children. It's horrific. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with that particular curriculum, but I have studied a lot of what's happening in the school and the Marxist indoctrination, a lot of what the UN is putting out. So that's something I'm going to talk about a lot with the Man in America show, is the educational system and how to combat that. So I think that, gosh, what time is it now? It's 12:40. So we've been going on for a little while now, which is great. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and end now. I thank you. Gosh, thank you everyone who came. This is like you've made my month to see how much you've all showed up. I genuinely appreciate everyone who's come and supported and shared and contributed and donated. I thank you so much. I'm really excited about moving forward. I can't wait to be 5 days a week. I'm looking forward to next week being twice a week. Like I said, it's going to be at 12 noon Eastern time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But look, I really am convinced that together we can save this country. I just believe that. I believe that God has a plan, and I believe that that if enough people stand up, I think if enough people return to what it means to follow God in this country, and we act in a way, I think that we will then deserve the divine's intervention in helping us. I also think that Trump still has a lot of things that he's planning, and again, yeah, I don't want to be a hopium dealer. Yeah, exactly. This isn't about hopium. It's about like what can we actually do. One other thing too is that within the next couple of days, I've got another video I'm releasing. It's a short and sweet one. I hope it is inspirational to you. And yeah, actually, yeah, Reagan, thank you for mentioning sharing. That is something I mentioned sharing sometimes. The thing is that with the censorship, like my Twitter account, I've got 5,000 followers. I post something, I get 2 comments. Facebook, Twitter, they've made sharing and growing so difficult. So anything that you can do to help share, whether it's emailing your friends or you're just telling somebody about my show, I really do appreciate that because they've really made it hard to grow this day and age, and I really want to work with you all. So the other thing is, if you go to our website, mia.news or maninamerica.com, which is actually maninamerica.com is now up properly. And if you want to subscribe to the email newsletter, that's also a great way to just stay in touch. I don't spam people, but that way when there's a new video that comes out, and we can keep in touch. Because if then YouTube does get it taken down, it gives us an opportunity to still communicate. Marjorie, yes, I know that the gun control law was passed, which worries me. I'm concerned about the Second Amendment, but we'll keep talking about that. So anyway, I guess that's it. I could go on for hours, but my daughter will probably be awake soon, and it's just time to go. So thank you so much. Honestly, thank you everyone for coming, and just stay brave, keep your heads up, find faith when you can, and I look forward to eventually talking to you almost every single day. All right. Thank you, and God bless.